You know that feeling, right? That electric buzz when you're falling for someone new.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's like the whole world just snaps into focus. Everything feels more vivid.
Exciting.
But underneath all that excitement, if we're really honest, there's usually this little flicker of hope, maybe even a quiet prayer, that this connection, it's actually the real deal, that it might, last.
That's the core of it, isn't it? You want it to be solid.
Exactly. And that's really what we're digging into today.
Yeah.
How do we truly get to understand someone we love? Because it's just so easy to get swept up in the rush of it all.
You do. You get caught up in the chemistry, the laughter, that feeling of just clicking.
Right.
But building something that really endures, that needs more than just that initial spark. It takes a genuine willingness to look deeper, to see beyond the surface charm.
And that's our goal with this deep dive. We're not here to burst anyone's bubble. Not at all.
No, definitely not.
But we want to equip you with some hopefully useful ways to look at your relationships, whether they're just starting or you've been together for years.
We've been exploring some really insightful perspectives on, human nature and how connections form and sometimes falter.
Yeah, we want to share those insights, help you see your partner or maybe potential partners with a bit more clarity. The hope is this helps you build something truly strong, truly authentic, and maybe avoid some potential pain along the way.
Makes sense. Where should we start?
Okay, let's jump right in with an idea that might feel a little counterintuitive at first. This notion that we often think we know someone much, much better than we actually do. The illusion of knowing.
Ah, yes. It's fascinating how our own desires can, color our perceptions, especially in love.
How so?
Well, philosopher Schopenhauer talked quite a bit about this. The idea is that our deep-seated needs, our fundamental desires can actually blind us to reality.
Blind us.
Yeah, or at least put some pretty strong filters on what we see. We want so badly to believe we found the one,
That we might unconsciously just skim over inconsistencies or those little nagging feelings, those red flags.
It's like you tune into the frequency that confirms what you hope for, isn't it? Someone might say all the right things.
You're incredible. I've never felt this way. All that stuff.
Exactly. And it feels amazing. You feel safe. You open up. But then sometimes the actions just don't quite match the words.
Right. They might pull back, become less responsive, seem distant.
And you're left wondering, wait, what did I miss? How did I not see this?
And Schopenhauer's point, and it's echoed in a lot of thinking on relationships, is that often the signs were there. People aren't always straightforward about their motivations.
Not maliciously necessarily?
Not always, no. Sometimes it's subconscious. They might be drawn to you to fill a temporary void. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they need an ego boost. Maybe it's just curiosity. It might not be about genuine, lasting connection for them in that moment.
And because we're, as some of these explorations suggest, so fundamentally hungry to be loved, we become quite skilled at ignoring those little internal alarms, that quiet voice saying, something feels a bit off here.
So, okay, the takeaway isn't to become cynical or distrustful of everyone.
No, absolutely not. It's more about sharpening your observation skills, really paying attention.
For what specifically?
To what people do. The material we've looked at really emphasizes this. Watch their actions, especially when they think no one's really paying attention or when there's nothing obvious to gain.
Like how they treat a waiter or talk about their friends when they're not there.
Exactly. Those kinds of things. Those moments can be incredibly revealing, much more so than, say, grand, carefully crafted declarations of affection.
It's like shifting focus from the movie soundtrack, the words, to watching the actual film, the behavior.
That's a great analogy. And these insights often talk about the significance of quiet moments. They often tell the loudest story.
Quiet moments. Like what?
Just the everyday stuff. Do they offer help without needing applause? Do they show basic kindness when it's maybe inconvenient? Observing these seemingly small interactions consistently over time paints a much more accurate picture of someone's character than, one big romantic weekend.
Okay, that makes sense. It reminds me a bit of Nietzsche, who I know was influenced by Schopenhauer. Didn't he suggest a kind of balanced approach?
He did, yes. Something along the lines of approaching new people with a degree of compassion, giving them the benefit of the doubt initially. Allow them space to show you who they are.
There's a but, right?
But crucially, don't switch off your intuition. Don't ignore that gut feeling if something consistently feels uneasy or off. It's about holding both openness and a healthy awareness simultaneously.
So acknowledging that people are complex,
Yeah.
layered.
Precisely. People wear emotional masks sometimes, and often it's not about intentional deception. It's about protecting vulnerabilities they might not even be fully conscious of.
The mistake is thinking we've seen behind the mask instantly.
Exactly. Assuming we know the whole story far too soon. True understanding isn't like downloading an app. It's a slow, gradual unfolding. Requires patience, observation.
Which leads us perfectly into the next big idea, the role of vulnerability. This feels really key.
It is absolutely crucial.
It feels risky, though, doesn't it, to be vulnerable?
It does. It goes against a lot of our instincts for self-protection.
But the thinking we've explored suggests that allowing yourself to be vulnerable is actually the gateway, the path to truly understanding your partner on a deeper emotional level.
It's quite counterintuitive, isn't it? We're often told, be strong, don't let them see you sweat.
Put up walls.
Right. But real intimacy, real understanding requires the opposite. It requires letting your guard down enough to actually be affected by your partner's inner world.
So it's not just knowing they're happy or sad, it's feeling it with them.
Yes. When their joy genuinely sparks joy in you, when their sadness actually touches you, reaches you on an emotional level, that's a profound form of understanding.
That's empathy, essentially. Feeling with them.
Mm-hmm. And the insights we've gathered really stress that this kind of understanding happens more in the heart, you could say, than just in the head. It's not purely analytical.
So it requires slowing down, paying attention differently.
Definitely. Tuning into the subtleties, their energy, the tone of their voice, not just the words. Those little pauses, the hesitations, these often speak volumes more than the explicit message.
Yes, where those aha moments often come from, isn't it? Those details that suddenly make things click.
Exactly. Those memorable little nuances that reveal so much.
And the encouraging part is this empathy, this ability to connect emotionally. It's not something you're just born with.
No, not at all. That's a key point. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, developed, strengthened over time.
How? How do you develop it?
The material talks about things like cultivating a quiet presence, really being there with someone without judgment, just observing, noticing, tuning into what might be going on beneath the surface words or actions.
Because often the mistakes we make in love, they're not about bad intentions.
Right. More often, it's simply a lack of awareness. We miss the underlying need, the unspoken fear, the past hurt that's driving their behavior.
So creating a space where your partner feels safe enough to be their whole self, even the messy parts, that's where understanding grows.
That's exactly it. A space for authenticity allows for genuine connection and understanding to flourish.
Now, this journey of understanding someone else, it seems like it has to involve understanding ourselves too, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a critical piece of the puzzle. You could argue it's where it all begins.
How so?
Well, back to Schopenhauer for a moment. He had this powerful idea about projection, that we tend to project our own unresolved issues, our pain, our insecurities, our fears, onto the people closest to us.
Okay, wow. So if I haven't dealt with my own, say, fear of abandonment.
You might misinterpret your partner's need for space as rejection. You might see abandonment where it doesn't actually exist because you're viewing their actions through your own specific filter.
So understanding them requires looking inward first.
Abandoning in my
So
hands.
listening habits, maybe?
Definitely. When your partner is talking, are you truly present? Are you listening to understand their experience? Or are you already filtering their words, relating it back to your own stuff, preparing your response?
That need for real emotional presence, being fully here.
Yes. Not lost in your own head, your own anxieties or assumptions. That presence allows you to pick up on the subtleties we talked about, the mood shifts, the hesitations.
It lets you understand the why behind the what.
Precisely. And self-acceptance is huge here, too. The insights we've looked at suggest that when you have a pretty solid sense of self, when you're generally okay in your own skin...
You're less likely to need your partner to fill your gaps or validate you constantly.
Exactly. You're not looking to them to fix you or make you feel whole. And that internal clarity, that self-acceptance, it kind of clears the lens.
So you can see them more clearly for who they actually are.
Yes. Not just as a reflection of your own needs or fears. You see them separate from you with their own history, their own struggles, their own way of being in the world.
This also ties into noticing patterns, doesn't it? Not just isolated incidents.
Absolutely critical. If a partner consistently dismisses your feelings, or is habitually late without real reason, or always avoids difficult conversations, these aren't just one-offs.
They point to something deeper.
Right. Repeated behaviors often reveal underlying truths about their values, their priorities, how they approach commitment, how they handle conflict.
So it's about balancing that empathy we discussed with a clear-eyed view of these recurring patterns.
Yes. Empathy doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means understanding the why behind the behavior, but still acknowledging the behavior itself and its impact on the relationship. Focusing on consistent patterns helps you see the bigger picture without getting lost in every little detail.
And what about intuition, that gut feeling?
Ah, yes, trusting your intuition. It's mentioned quite a bit. We all have those. Those quiet instincts, don't we? That little nudge that says something isn't quite right, or maybe that something feels really, really good and true.
But it can be hard to listen to, especially when desire is strong.
Yeah.
Like Schopenhauer warned, desire can cloud our judgment.
It absolutely can. We might want things to be a certain way so badly that we silence that inner voice. But learning to tune into those quiet instincts is actually described as a powerful form of self-protection.
Listening to that deeper wisdom.
It can often steer us away from situations or relationships that aren't truly healthy for us, even if we can't logically explain why it feels wrong at the time.
So it really all seems to weave together observation, empathy, self-awareness, intuition. It's about developing emotional awareness overall.
Exactly. And the really positive message here is that emotional intelligence, this whole skill set, it's learnable. It's not fixed.
Where do you start then, if you want to cultivate this?
It really starts with turning inwards first. Understanding your own emotional world. What are your core fears, your insecurities? What are your go-to coping mechanisms when things get tough?
Learning to self-soothe, maybe? So you're not always dependent on your partner to manage your feelings.
That's a huge part of it. Developing healthy ways to navigate your own emotional landscape. And then, from that more grounded place,
You can turn outwards.
yes, turn outwards and observe others with what's been called a gentle curiosity. Not judgment, but genuine interest in understanding their experience, their perspective, allowing their consistent actions over time to tell you who they are.
When you approach relationships like that from a place of more self-awareness and emotional skill, the dynamic must change quite a bit.
It really does. You shift away from this idea of needing someone else to complete you. Instead, it becomes about two whole individuals choosing to come together.
Supporting each other's growth.
Yes, and becoming, as one source beautifully put it, mirrors and protectors of each other's truths, helping each other see yourselves more clearly and protecting that shared understanding.
That sounds like a really profound kind of connection. Clear-eyed, deep-rooted, genuinely aware.
It is, and honestly, it feels like the kind of love that even a profound pessimist about human nature, like Schopenhauer, might have had to grudgingly admire.
Because it's built on reality, not illusion.
Precisely, built on genuine understanding, empathy, and awareness, both of self and other, not just wishful thinking or fleeting desire.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive.
Hmm.
The key takeaway seems to be that truly understanding someone you love isn't just about the initial spark or the words exchanged.
No, it's an ongoing process. It requires moving beyond the surface.
It means embracing vulnerability, even when it feels risky. Practicing empathy, really trying to feel with your partner.
And crucially, starting with yourself, doing that inner work of self-awareness and self-acceptance.
And remembering to observe.
Ah.
Pay attention to the actions, the patterns, those quiet moments. They often hold the most truth.
By bringing these ideas into your relationships, the aim is to navigate them with more clarity, build stronger, more authentic bonds.
And hopefully foster a love that's really grounded in mutual understanding.
Absolutely.
So here's something to maybe mull over after listening. Think about one important relationship in your life. Could be romantic, could be family, could be a close friend.
Yeah, any significant connection.
What's one quiet moment you've observed, or maybe a recurring pattern of behavior that you might now see through a slightly different lens after our chat today?
What deeper story might be unfolding there, perhaps just beneath the surface that maybe you haven't fully acknowledged before? It's worth considering.